Hey Fondant Fam. Today we're creating this adorable little one-eyed minion buddy topper complete with a little balloon. The best part, I'm using my mini buddy character mold to speed things up and make creating these little guys so much easier. Let's get started. Now for the overalls. Now I did cheat just a little bit and pre-made the body using my mini buddy mold. That's what we're gonna call it, not minion. Also went ahead and created the mouth opening, and that can vary depending on the look you're going for. Be creative. Do it how you want to do it. I rolled my blue fondant using an impression mat that gives like a fabric or denim appearance. Then I simply freehand cut the overalls. Now, the overalls don't have to be perfect because once all the little details go on, everything comes together perfectly. So be patient with the process, as you see I'm doing in the video. The tiny pocket on the front of his little overalls can easily be achieved by using a small square cutter as your starting point and then shaping it as needed. Don't forget to add the same fabric texture to the pocket as well. Those little details really help sell the look of overalls. Now for the little legs. Simply roll your fondant into a small log shape. Add your fabric texture and cut it in half to your desired length. Attach them with a little water as you see here. Quick, simple, and super easy. Next are the overall straps. I simply rolled my fondant into a thin strip, making it long enough to create both pieces. Then I added the same fabric texture so everything would coordinate nicely. Once I was happy with the size, I cut my straps and attached them with a little water as you see here. It's amazing how these tiny details instantly make this little buddy look like he's wearing real overalls. Next are the arms. These are simply elongated teardrop shapes. The end that attaches to the body should be much thinner, while the opposite end should remain a bit fuller to accommodate the hands later on. Once you're happy with the shape, simply attach them to the body using a little water. Simple shapes like this are what make character toppers so much fun to create. Next is the cupcake base. I use white gum paste and mine measures approximately 2.5 inches in diameter. To add a little extra detail, I simply use the blunt side of a 2-inch cutter to create an embossed design around the edge. Feel free to customize this part however you'd like. This is where you can really make the topper your own. Once I was happy with the design, I attached my little guide to the base using a small amount of water. Next, I filled the pre-made mouth opening with black fondant, and just like that, we begin to see his personality emerge. Next are the shoes. I use black fondant along with my mini buddy mold to create these little pieces. Since this topper will be sitting on a cupcake base, I did trim a bit off the back of each shoe so they would sit nice and securely without rocking or leaning. Don't be afraid to make little adjustments like this along the way. Sometimes those tiny modifications make all the difference in both the appearance and stability of your finished topper. Again, secure the shoes with a little water. Next is the single eye, which was created using my mini buddy mold. I filled the mold with two different colors of fondant, gray for the goggle and white for the actual eye. This part can be a little tricky, but trust me, it is absolutely worth the effort in the end. Now for the iris, I used a small round cutter to cut out a brown circle. I then cut that circle in half and re-rolled one half into a ball that was large enough for the eye. Once I was happy with the size, I attached it with a small amount of water. I repeated the process with an even smaller piece of black fondant for the pupil. After assembling the eye, I attached the entire piece to my little buddy using water. As you see here in the video, if this part seems a bit challenging, don't hesitate to rewind, rewatch, and take your time. Sometimes these tiny details take a little practice. To finish everything off, I cut thin strips of black fondant to create the bands for the goggle. And just like that, we're really starting to make headway with this little guy. Next are the teeth and tongue. I simply added a small piece of white fondant for the teeth and a tiny piece of red fondant for the tongue. Sometimes it's the smallest detail that add the most personality to your character. Watch closely as I use my silicone sculpting tool to gently create the individual tooth details. This little step only takes a few seconds, but it really helps bring our buddy's expression to life. Next is a balloon, which I consider a little lanyard for this tutorial, just a little something extra. I used 18 gauge wire for the balloon string and wrapped it around the handle of a paintbrush to give it that fun curly shape. For the balloon itself, I used green fondant, making it nice and bulbous at the top and slightly more slender toward the bottom. I then added a small piece of fondant for the balloon opening and inserted the wire as shown in the video. To finish it off, I added a tiny piece of white fondant to create a little shine detail. It's a small touch, but details like this really make your work come to life. If you decide to add the balloon, take your time with this section and let me know, should I create a balloon mold or not? Next are the hands. I use black fondant along with my mold to create these little details, but feel free to make the hands however you'd like. They can be open, closed, pointing, or even made into tiny fists. The possibilities are endless and can completely change the personality of your little buddy. As you can see here, I chose to have one hand raised to eventually hold that balloon wire while leaving the other hand open. I also used a tiny bit of water to attach both hands to each arm. Now for the banana, I simply shaped a small piece of yellow fondant into a banana shape and I used edible markers to add a few details and dimension. Since my black fondant hand had dried a little more than usual, I attached the banana using a small amount of piping gel instead of water. Keep in mind that black fondant tends to dry rather quickly, so you may need to switch adhesive depending on how long your pieces have been sitting. Now for my absolute favorite part, the shading. I use Petal Crafts Petal Dust, which can be found in my Amazon storefront. Links to all of my social sites and favorite products can be found in the description below. Dusting adds dimension and gives your character so much more life and personality. My biggest tip is to start with a small amount and slowly build your color. Using white edible paint and a toothpick, I added a tiny sparkle to the eye. It's a small detail that adds so much life. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. Don't forget to check out my collection of molds and other products linked below. And until next time, ciao ciao for now. Peace.